Well, here we are. After a memorable divisional round, all that stands between us and Super Bowl 51 is Championship Sunday, and what a Sunday it should be. Green Bay at Atlanta, Pittsburgh at New England. Two great games, four excellent teams, four elite quarterbacks. I do hope you've cleared your schedule for Sunday because this should be fun. Now, these playoffs have treated us pretty well so far. We've yet to lose a bet, and I have strong feelings about both these games, so we'll see what happens. Let's start in Atlanta, where the Falcons host the Green Bay Packers. Atlanta, a 5-point favorite at BetSafe, 60 the total in this game. Now, the Packers just got finished pulling the upset in Dallas. What a game that was, an instant classic. You probably saw it. Green Bay built a 21-3 lead. Dallas came roaring back. Packers had to kick two 50-plus yard field goals in the last 2 minutes of the game. 34-31 the final. Aaron Rodgers was brilliant, as he has been throughout the second half of this season. In the Packers' last 8 games, all wins, by the way, Rodgers has 24 touchdown passes and just 1 interception. This guy is clicking on all cylinders. Unfortunately for him, however, he did lose leading receiver Jordy Nelson to cracked ribs last week in Dallas, and Nelson questionable for this game, actually highly questionable. As of the time of this recording, they're saying that it's unlikely that Jordy Nelson plays, but there's still a chance that he's going to be out there. Now, we know over the past couple of years, this Packers offense has been very different when Nelson hasn't been on the field. Rodgers was still able to move them up and down the field after Nelson left the game last week. But I'll tell you what, Green Bay really missing something if Jordy Nelson is not going to be out there. I'm not worried about this Packers offense, though. They're going to be able to move the ball on the Falcons. We saw when these teams met in Week 8, what a game that was. Falcons pulled that one out 33-32. Aaron Rodgers with 246 yards and 4 touchdown passes. Should be mentioned, though, that Jordy Nelson was the Packers' leading receiver in that game with 94 yards and a touchdown. Still, though, Rodgers playing as well as he is now. The Falcons not great on defense. I do expect Green Bay to move the ball in this game. That's not their concern. Their concern is the other side of the ball. That's because this Green Bay defense has not been good this season, especially in the secondary. The Packers 31st in passing defense this year. That is next to last. We saw last week Cowboys rookie quarterback Dak Prescott threw for 302 yards and 3 touchdowns. Dallas really moved the ball up and down the field at will after falling behind 21-3. Now the Packers go on the road to face the NFL's best offense. The Falcons led the league in points scored this year, 33.8 points per game. Matt Ryan was tremendous. He's the odds-on favorite to be named league MVP. The first time he faced this Packers defense, 28 of 35 for 288 yards and 3 touchdowns. And folks, I just don't see how it's going to be different this time around. I don't see how the Packers are going to slow down this Atlanta offense. Last week we saw the Falcons roll up 422 yards and 36 points on the Seattle Seahawks, one of the league's most respected defenses. That was 1 week after Seattle had totally shut down the Detroit Lions. And we've seen all season, we mentioned the Falcons lead the NFL in scoring. Well, they're even better at home. They scored 30 points or more in 6 of their 8 home games. 24 or more in every one of their home games. Green Bay's been dealing with injuries in the secondary. We saw Morgan Burnett have to leave the game last week. He's questionable for this game this week. We saw Ladarius Gunter, who now, I guess, has been appointed Green Bay's best cornerback. I mean, he mostly chased around Odell Beckham 2 weeks ago and Dez Bryant last week. He could not handle Dez Bryant. How is he going to handle Julio Jones? Just don't think it's going to happen. And look, even though this Atlanta defense not great, they were playing their best football towards the end of the year. Over the last 5 games, they held the opposition to just 19 points per game. They have a very good pass rusher in Vic Beasley, who will be after Aaron Rodgers. I know Aaron Rodgers has been playing great football lately, and like I said, I do expect the Packers to move the ball in this game. But facing an Atlanta offense that averaged 295 passing yards per game this season, and we haven't even talked about that running game, the Thunder and Lightning combo of Tevin Coleman and Devontae Freeman. This Falcons offense is awesome. They're at their best when they're at home. Green Bay's been banged up on defense. They're banged up in the secondary. Jordy Nelson might not be playing. You know, and I watched that Packers win last week. I was struck by the feeling that maybe this was the mountaintop for them. They had players limping off the field all game. They pulled the upset. They were obviously ecstatic to win the game. Aaron Rodgers was asked immediately afterwards about this week's matchup with the Falcons. You could tell he did not even want to go there. He said, I just want to celebrate this win here. That's certainly understandable, and I think there's good reason behind that because I don't think the Packers will be able to celebrate after this Sunday. I think Atlanta wins this game and wins it fairly comfortably. 60, a big number, but it's big for a reason. There's going to be a lot of points put up here. I think most of the points are going to be put up by the Atlanta Falcons. I think they pull away in the second half, win this one, and cover the 5-point number. Moving on now to New England, where the Patriots host the Pittsburgh Steelers. New England, a 5.5-point favorite at BetSafe, 50.5 the total here. These teams both red hot. The Steelers have won 9 straight games. The Patriots have won 8 straight. Patriots really haven't been challenged over the past 8 games. It sounds funny to say this, but we really don't know how good this team is. I mean, I know we've seen them play a whole season and 1 playoff game now. But as I mentioned, they haven't been challenged really since they lost Rob Gronkowski to that season-ending injury. How good is this Patriots defense? Does anybody really know? They led the NFL in scoring defense this season. They surrendered just 15.6 points per game. But you look at who they've played lately. I want to read you the last 8 quarterbacks they've faced in order, starting with the most recent one. The Patriots defense has faced Brock Osweiler, Matt Moore, Ryan Fitzpatrick, Trevor Siemian, Joe Flacco in a game in which they gave up 324 passing yards, Jared Goff, Ryan Fitzpatrick again, and Colin Kaepernick. That is not exactly a murderer's row of quarterbacks. This New England defense was a question mark heading into the season. We saw them exposed a couple of times in the first half of the year. And again, the only time they've played an above-average quarterback here over the second half of the season, that was the Baltimore game when they faced Joe Flacco. That was a 30-23 Patriots win. As we mentioned, Flacco threw for 324 yards in that game. Well, we're going to see him get tested now. This Pittsburgh Steelers offense, as good as there is in the NFL right now, outside of maybe Atlanta, the Steelers very, very balanced. They were 5th in the NFL in pass yards per game this season, and that's with Ben Roethlisberger missing a couple of games. And then you look at their rushing attack. Le'Veon Bell, I mean, is there a better running back in the NFL right now than Le'Veon Bell? This guy, over his last 8 games, he has rushed for 1,172 yards. I mean, he is in a rhythm like nobody we've seen in the NFL this season. In the wild card matchup against the Miami Dolphins, Bell set a new Steelers franchise record with 167 rushing yards, a Steelers playoff record. And then he went and broke it last week in Kansas City, rushing for 170 yards. Now, this Patriots defense, better up front than they are in the secondary, but Pittsburgh stresses you everywhere. I mean, Roethlisberger, just about as good a quarterback as there is in the league. Antonio Brown, as good a wide receiver as there is in the league. This Pittsburgh offense, we mentioned the Steelers have won 9 straight games. Well, the Steelers have scored 24 points or more in all of those games. And their defense has been playing pretty well too, especially in the front 7. Steelers, 30 sacks over the second half of the season. They held Kansas City and Miami to just 28 combined points in their past 2 games. Now look, they're not facing Alex Smith or Matt Moore in this game. They're facing Tom Brady. And I don't think they're going to be holding the Patriots below 20 points. But you know, this Patriots offense, no real game breakers now that Rob Gronkowski no longer in the fold. And as we mentioned, they just haven't been tested in a shootout over the second half of the season, over these past 8 games. I mean, will they be able to respond if Pittsburgh is able to score at will, which I don't know about at will, but I do think Pittsburgh is going to be able to move the ball and put up points in this game. Is New England going to be able to respond in a shootout type situation? Tom Brady, as good as there is, but we mentioned no real game breakers on this New England offense now that Gronkowski no longer a part of the equation. I'm not sure. I'm not sure the Patriots are going to be able to respond here. The Steelers have looked as good as any team in the NFL to me over these past few weeks. These teams met in Week 7, of course, but can't read too much into that one. It was a 27-16 Patriots win, but Ben Roethlisberger did not play in that game. Landry Jones was at quarterback for the Steelers, and Rob Gronkowski was out there for New England. Now, even so, even though Landry Jones was out there instead of Roethlisberger, the Steelers still outgained the Patriots in that one. So look, I think this is going to be a really tough matchup for the Patriots defense. Obviously, it's going to be a tough matchup for the Steelers defense as well. But I think the Steelers might be a little bit better right now. More balanced offensively. They might be better defensively, especially in the front 7. This Pittsburgh front 7 has looked borderline elite here over the past few weeks. I think the Steelers might just go into New England and pull off the upset. I like them plus 5.5 points. Almost want to recommend them on the money line. Listen, you never want to turn down 5.5 points. A wise man once told me, never do anything that makes a bet more difficult to win. So if somebody's giving you 5.5 points, you take it. In this case, I am going to take it, even though I have a sneaking feeling that Pittsburgh's going to win this one outright. There you have it, folks. Those are my thoughts for Championship Sunday. I think the Falcons are going to cover 5 at home against the Green Bay Packers. And I think the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to shock the world in New England. I like Pittsburgh plus 5.5. I think we're going to see a Falcons-Steelers Super Bowl. And what a high-scoring, interesting matchup that would be. Hey, folks, I wish you best of luck whatever you decide to do this Championship Sunday, just so long as your interests don't conflict with my interests. Enjoy the games, folks. Should be fun. For Bet Safe, I'm John Arnette.